Hey everyone, I'm here today to show you what's inside of my literacy centers, and the really exciting part of this is that I have a free set of literacy centers to give to you so that you can start trying this in your classroom. If you did not see my last video, I talked all about how I manage literacy centers, but also about how I really struggled to really even try literacy centers when I first started teaching because it was just so complicated. I felt like with so many moving pieces and trying to find resources that fit my students. So in this video, we're going over really that second half of the struggle, which is how to actually find resources for your literacy centers and what to actually put in them. So in the resource that I'm giving you, you're gonna see there's a few different types of activities. I have writing, independent work, and also reading comprehension. So those are my three primary categories for literacy centers. So when you get that resource, you can open it up. You can see how I categorize the different activities into those three categories. And I think that'll help guide you quite a bit. So one of the things that I always include in my literacy centers are some sort of poster or summary that can help students figure out what they're supposed to be doing if for some reason they're struggling with this topic. So my students all get lots of practice on the different types of activities so they know exactly what to do on them, but occasionally they'll get one where they really struggle. For example, capitalization. So in my capitalization center, I have a poster or something that's going to help them, like some note-taking sheets. If you do note-taking in your class for a particular skill, you can always do a copy of your teacher notes and you can include that in the center too. I also have little teeny tiny ones that can be cut out and they can be laminated, and that way you can have all of your students in that group have a little laminated card next to them that reminds them of the roles. So one of the easiest centers that you can do is just task card centers, and I don't like to do all task cards because it can get really boring for students. So I like to change things up a little bit, do like task cards, games, sorting, anything that's hands-on is super helpful, with the addition of some just easy, simple writing and reading activities. So if you do task cards, just make sure that you have a recording sheet for all of your students. So have as many copies in here as you need to. So if you have 36 students, you're going to want 36 copies, and that way as you move each student throughout and each group through your centers, you have enough copies in there so that each student has a recording sheet. So that's really important to remember. So task cards are really easy, just the task card and just the recording sheet. The next example I'm going to show you is very interactive, but it's focused on a very specific skill. So let's say that your students just learned about point of view last week and you want to practice that extra. You can do a sort. So what I like about these is that I can cut these out and I can laminate them and put them in a bag and use them year after year. Just have to stick them in another folder. And so these are really simple. This is going to be in the free resource that I give you, but this is just an easy way to have students do something that's hands-on. Another thing you may want to do is include the answer key as well. It's up to you, but for there to be some place for students to get the answer key so that they can check their work, which I think is valuable and also is very helpful because a lot of times students are guessing and they don't get any feedback, and you're actually usually in a small group working with a group of students, so you don't have the time to give students that feedback in the center. Another center that I love is color by code or mystery pictures. So these are really easy to find on Teachers Pay Teachers. You can even find clip art sets so that you can make it yourself. But these are just very simple comprehension questions, and you can do this with almost any skill too. It doesn't have to be comprehension, could be vocabulary. And students get a page that they have to put the answers on and color in, and once they color it in, they get a really cool picture. And so some of them are ones where students already see the picture, they can tell what it is, and some of them are just mystery grids where they can't actually see what the picture is yet, and that's even more exciting. So this is great because you have students who love art, and as part of this center, it's really engaging because they want to do the art piece. So I absolutely love any of the centers that can bring in other subject areas or other learning types, and art is a really good way to do that. A few other types of centers that I have are things like games. So if you find any resource that's a game, or you want to just print out a blank game board and give them some task cards to go along with that game, that changes it up a little bit. And these are easy to put into these folders. Some other ideas are taking a reading comprehension passage that you worked on last week and creating some new questions for that passage, but having the passage be a reread so they've already read it as a class. That's a simple way to get extra practice and have them rereading a passage. You can also throw in a graphic organizer that your students are really familiar with, and they can use that with a new text. And if you find that just a paper text is super boring, you can throw in a picture book. There are some higher level picture books even for upper elementary. My favorite's Baseball Saved Us. There's a whole bunch like that that are very lengthy picture books that are more appropriate for older kids. But even just throwing in a younger grade level picture book is an awesome way for students to have something that has lots of illustrations and is just really more engaging, and then having a graphic organizer to fill in notes about it, or having some questions put in there. Just a fun way for students to do more reading and practice more of that comprehension or vocabulary. So my goal each week is to have one activity that goes along with writing, maybe two, have a reading comprehension or two activity, and then to have something that's hands-on or art, especially as my last couple of centers. So it doesn't need to be anything too complicated, but again, things like color code by code, sorts, any gamification you can do, or just bringing in things like picture books and passages you've used in the past can be really great ways to fill in your centers with really awesome practice for your students, and really good opportunities for them to keep practicing those skills that you're working on in your class. The most important thing to remember is that you want consistent activities every week. So you don't want everything to be exactly the same, but you want to have these same types of activities so that when students sit down at centers, they know how to do the color by code, they know how to do the sort, they know exactly how to fill in a certain graphic organizer or to work with something in particular that you have every single week. So keep it simple, keep it consistent, and head to the link in the description because you're going to get access to a full free resource that you can use to start implementing literacy centers with your students. And then I'm also going to link you to our literacy centers guide, which helps you set expectations, talks a little bit about how to actually set up and manage the centers, which we have in a different video. But you definitely want to grab that guide and grab the free resources. And once you try it on in your class, if you have questions, you can ask me in the comments below. And also, I have a full year of literacy centers. So if you start it and you're like, yes, this is awesome, but you don't want to have to curate any more resources, you can head to the link in the description. I'll also link up the entire year of literacy centers, which is just such a simple and easy way to just get everything prepped and get it in a filing cabinet and just be ready to go. And to be able to really work with your students on reteaching these skills in an engaging way where they're working in small groups while you work with a small group of students who really need extra help on a particular topic. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I'm bringing a free resource every single week. You do not want to miss it. Hit the little bell icon. It'll tell you when I have a new video. And as you know, you can always check the description because I'll usually have a free resource for you that goes along with what we're talking about so that you can try it out in your classroom.